CBS 46 News presents Public Affairs on Peach.
Good morning and welcome to Public Affairs on Peach. I'm Karen Greer. Well, technology has really changed the way we live. We're able to do many more tasks with the click of a mouse, a keypad, or even just your finger. Convenience is constantly advancing the changing life the way we know it. But is that a good thing? Distracted driving actually became so bad here in Georgia. Less than 2 weeks ago, it became illegal for you to touch your phone while driving. Offenders are ticketed, fined, and get points taken off their licenses. Coming up in this half hour, professionals on Science to tell if your child is addicted to his electronics, like these iPads. Educators discussing the use of electronics in the classrooms. And a little later, we're going to have you look at how you can keep yourself protected from hackers out to get your personal information. Now, my first guest right now, Dr. Daria Gillespie, who is actually seeing a turn in the overall health of folks as technology continues to advance in our everyday world to make life a lot easier for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Now, you say the impact is actually unhealthy eating is one of the problems you've seen.
So that is, and I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people are starting to realize the impact of their devices on their health, but they don't think of eating as well. And our devices really cause this habit of distraction for us, and that continues to when we eat. So studies have shown that having a smartphone at the table, even if it's face down, decreases conversation and increases mindless eating, let alone if it's on, because the number of candy commercials have doubled since 2007. So if you're trying to have your child eat broccoli and they're watching a candy bar commercial, it's a lost battle.
I don't know where you can go for lunch or dinner with someone and they don't have a phone on the table.
Right.
Even if it's face down, that's an issue.
It is, and a lot of people wouldn't think that,
Families.
but studies have shown that. So what I tell people is that there are device-free zones, and one of those is the meal table. Everybody, including parents, because we are guilty as well, plugs in their phone away from the table. Everybody sits down, all devices off.
Now, I've heard this one before. Sleep is actually affected by this as well.
100%. So light is the biggest, #1 dictator of our biological clock. And it happens with adults, and children are even more susceptible to it. That bright light from the phone, it's blue light, and that's very strong at suppressing our melatonin, which is what tells us it's time to go to sleep. So preschoolers who had bright light in their eyes for about an hour in a study, in one study before bed, cut their melatonin levels by 90%.
Wow.
So anybody with preschoolers, I mean, we want our kids to go to
Right.
bed. So, and this happens for adults as well. So what I tell people, 1 to 2 hours before bed, all devices off. If you have a teen or you're an adult who has to do some work, then you can set it on the nighttime setting or buy some blue blocker glasses. You can find them on Amazon for under $20. And it suppresses that blue light.
Okay, now in physical activity, we're learning dropping quite a bit with all of these devices. Why is that?
So that's what's really scary, and they find that physical activity at 7 years drastically drops due to what they call the digital dependence. And for many kids, I think it's 2 things. One, the parents are busy, so they're more likely to say, just here, watch something. And the kids are more likely to get, you think of any child, they may have wanted to go play, but once they start watching a show, then they just get kind of pulled in.
Right.
So it's really important that you have limits on the device and get your kids out to play. 1 hour a day is what they need of physical activity.
Oh, wow. So starting early. In 1970, kids actually started watching TV at age 4. Now it's 4 months.
4 months.
So how much screen time?
Okay, so the American Academy of Pediatrics came out with some new rules last year. Under 18 months, they say none. 18 months to 24 months, they say keep it kind of minimal. And I know, but just try to keep it minimal. Don't really hand that child that device because it's hyperstimulation on a really developing mind. Okay. Ages 2 to 5, under an hour a day. And they say high quality programming, PBS, Common Sense Media, Sesame Workshop, that kind of stuff. If your child is 6 and older, there's not a rule. They said, but you know, your child needs to have plenty of time to sleep, 8 to 12 hours, an hour of physical activity, school, homework, meals without devices. And then when the time that's left over, they can have a little bit of time for their devices.
No, that's funny you say that. I've seen parents with kids, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, they give them that device and just let them play all day.
You know, and I'm a mom. I know that that's tempting sometimes. You're like, please just sit here so I can have a minute. But what they really say is, you know, the kids need unstructured activity. They don't, I'm not saying go put away the devices and go do knitting with your child for 3 hours. Take away the device and go let them play. Let them play in the playroom, let them run around outside and join in with them. That's the other thing I tell parents is if you make a routine, then the family's getting physical activity together. Make it a plan that after dinner every night, instead of watching TV, you go for a walk, or you run around and play tag, or we just turn on the music and we dance in my house, and it doesn't matter.
I love it.
So do that together, so you're doing something fun and active in place of the device.
What about school-age children? At what time, how much time do you give them in front of those computers? Because they do have homework.
So exactly. So that's a big differentiator. So I'm glad you brought that up. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, that doesn't count in the limit of time. There's homework, screen time, and there's entertainment. Now, there's entirely other thing if your kid says they're doing homework and they're
playing,
watching something else, which is why for adults, I think also as parents, set the rules immediately that from the day they get their devices, you set some rules. And one of those is, I can look and see what you're doing at all times. I bought you that device.
Right.
So I get to look at it. I look at your social media accounts and set that from day one. But one other thing we hear parents say is that, well, I didn't set the rules already. You can always go back. It doesn't matter. You're the parent. You set the rules.
Daria, is always fabulous. Thank you so
Karen.
much. Coming up, you've heard the technology is actually ruining our kids. We're going to talk to a psychologist about how computers are rewiring unsuspecting brains.